You've got 40.3 kilowatts of possible electricity in from the amount of gas that you're bringing in. You've got 23.6 kilowatts of DC out. Heat exchange and steam reformation, 3 kilowatts, which leaves you with 13.8 kilowatts available to a combined cycle or combined heat and power if you wish to do so. After that, of course, you have to convert it to AC because you've got to put it on the grid and so forth. Their inverter right there is using 2 kilowatts of power. That brings your output power from 23.6 down to 21.6, and you get a whopping efficiency of 91.5, which, if you ask me, is pretty crappy, but nonetheless, that is what their thing is getting. And then after they convert it to AC, then they are taking out another 3.4 kilowatts for balance of plant. So your net output is this 18.6 number. And you will notice right here from their little roadmap, with their lack of significant digits there, that and that don't add up to that. Just be aware of that. So if you want to figure it out per stack, because we got to scale this up to the 50, this is what it's using in gas per stack. That is what it's providing after activation, omission, or concentration losses. That's how much you can use for combined cycle, and that is how much it's using up for heat exchange reform. So the WFC50 we know uses the same stacks, which means it has to use 60 of them. This is probably about half the information you can find in the WFC50, but it works for our purposes. So we're going to incorporate those values. Basically, you've got a ratio of 60 stacks to 24, so it's 2.5. You can just kind of multiply the numbers. And I put the numbers that I feel are important, ugly shade of orange, so I know that you really can't miss them. It's using 100.75 kilowatts worth of methane. The combined power for one of those systems, combined cycle power available from one of those systems, that's usable heat, is the 34.5 kilowatts. And after that, after you get the DC out of 59 kilowatts, you have to feed it to their lousy efficiency inverter, and you get 54 kilowatts of power. But of course, you still have to take out the balance of plant after that, and then you end up with 45.5. Now this number would equal this number if they had used 3K right here, and then our other numbers would have added up. So just so you know, probably actually 46.5. But nonetheless, we're going with 45.5, but you know those numbers check themselves, corresponds with their literature. So then we can figure out, assuming, let's pretend that every single cell is in series, and the whole entire thing, that's what, 1,800 cells, all in series. You know your power input with no losses based on your thermoneutral voltage. You've got 17.91 amps that are going through each cell at that point. And since you've got 75 cells in a stack, there's your number right there per stack that is using in standard liters per minute, so CH4. So you've got 60 stacks in your WFC50, you get 140.3 liters per minute of methane. So you're probably thinking, well, we've got 4,637.8 standard liters per minute of methane from gross landfill coming out at any given time. What are we going to do? Well, we're going to get 33 of these systems. And you're thinking, wow, that's a lot of systems. Well, they're working on a bigger unit. They're multiple hundred kilowatts right now. I'm guessing 200, 300. The fact is nobody's really making anything big right now in SOFC. Westinghouse, you know, they made their 300 kilowatt deal and set a world record with it, the highest fuel to energy conversion ever done in the history of man, and now they got out of the business, they just dropped it. So there's really nothing out there. So we are using 33 of this. Fact is, that's going to provide us with enough redundancy, so we're good. So we get that much power total out. That's after all of our losses and inefficiencies taken out, and we also end up with this much heat that we can use. We can either like let it go into the great beyond, or we can use it for heat. So if we want to use it for our purposes, we can do CHP, and if you ask me, that's also about the idea, because who wants to pipe away over a megawatt of heat, water, and pipes? You'd have to power a whole freaking city with that. Have a lot of spawns or something. So we are going to do a combined cycle. So you can use either a steam turbine, good option, a gas turbine is a better option, or you can use both, convert some of that stuff into electricity. Fact is, you can't get a gas turbine with a closed loop. What they do is, in this sort of situation, is they would take the combustion chamber out, replace it with a heat exchanger, and then the heat would go through in a loop in the system. Siemens Westinghouse bought a combustion unit for theirs and modified it for the fuel cell energy. They do the same thing. Everybody buys combustion units and converts them because you cannot find a heat exchange unit with a closed loop. So we're going to go with the steam turbine because these are readily available. And this one looks pretty good to me. It's almost 3 times bigger than what we need, but that's okay. So here's what happens, pretty straightforward. This is a nice blueprint of the Mitsubishi model right there. You got heat that comes in, it heats up your water right there, turns it into steam, and what is known as the HRSG, heat recovery steam generator. It comes up here, it turns the turbine, it condenses back, and goes around. It's the process of life. A 30% efficiency is what's typical for one of these. Maybe 34th at 5 if you're lucky, but with this much usable heat that we're getting from those fuel cells, that is what we can get out of it. 341.6. We're not quite done. That's kilowatts. We're not quite done. The WFP50, that's already got all your conversion technologies in it.